I want to share with you a little secret I have. This secret is this amazing skincare line that I've been using now for a year. Now, I am a product queen. It is the one thing I spend money on. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes, but I love products. And I love skincare products because I want my skin to really reflect and showcase how I feel inside. But this is honestly the best product I've ever tried. And I love the fact that it's vegan, it's all natural. You could literally eat it because it's totally organic. Herbal face food. It's the most potent anti-aging, multi-correction, antiviral skincare on the market. It's magic. I can't even describe it. I use a little bit of Serum One a few times a week, and it tightens up my skin. And then it also kind of whitens it a little bit, makes it feel like all the sun damage disappears. But you can go for the Serum 2, which is like the correction, and that goes into the more sun damaged areas. So you're just going to have to try it for yourself. So go to the show notes and hit the link. Lara20 is the code for 20% off herbal face food. I love it. I love it. I want to share it with you all. I'm Laura Hyman, and welcome to Redefining Movement, a LYT podcast designed to investigate all aspects of movement from my background in physical therapy and neuroscience. My mission is to help everyone find freedom through smarter movement patterns and compassion for ourselves and others, so together we can live our most uplifted lives, benefiting all beings. Welcome to our monthly deep dive. We will be diving into the topic of why incorporating education into movement practice is so essential. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Kristin Williams.
Hey, Lara, I'm so excited to talk about this.
I know I think this is kind of our chef's kiss to everything. It's amazing to practice movement. It's amazing to be involved as a professional movement instructor. And education is like the framework for everything. You know, we look at it from this physical therapy lens when we treat clients either one-to-one or just kind of treat everyone as a client of physical therapy to improve their movement and their posture. We always do this through education, and we're just going to kind of go through the reasons why. So we incorporate education into every LYT practice. And of course, we do this in our LYT teacher training, which we'll touch on a little bit, for 8 main reasons we're going to go through. The first is when you have improved education, you're helping individuals who have probably not been exposed to understanding their body, understanding movement a lot. You're giving them that education and that understanding of the principles behind movement. And it just helps them become more aware of good technique, more optimal posture, and then the purpose of everything. So we really, in each of our classes, we're always reinforcing these concepts of, wonderful form dictates function. And that's important because you want to understand the why behind your doing stuff. It's not just to look a certain way. Obviously, we want to feel good, but we want to know the why behind these movements. And this knowledge really helps people become kind of more invested in it and because they understand it.
Yeah, well, and I think that knowledge leads right into our second, reason this is crucial is because of injury prevention. When you better understand the why and how to move, we call that biomechanics in physical therapy, then people can move better, move more safely, and then therefore, decrease their chance of injury. I mean, nothing makes me happier than when someone says to me, Kristin, I thought about what you said in class and I applied that, or they don't say I applied that, but that's what they end up doing is they apply it to their real life. I thought about that when I was getting groceries out of the back of the car. I thought about how You want me to use my glutes and my hamstrings when I'm bending over to come up to keep it out of my back. I kept my spine long. You know, education on that proper form is how I keep from getting hurt. You know, I mean, I think about how I'm moving, I would say 90% of the time. And when I don't think about it, or sometimes there are positions that I get into that I know, all right, this is kind of sketchy, but I don't have a choice. I, again, I tighten my core. I do all the things that we talk about in the movement practice to decrease my chance of getting injured. Knock on wood, I'm knocking on my head right now, you know, that's going to continue, because I mean, sometimes injuries happen, but the more we know, the better prepared we are not to get injured.
Yeah. And, and understanding like the why also prevents that kind of repetitive use injury that sometimes people unknowingly create, especially in a practice like yoga. It could be any practice where there are some moves that you do over and over again. And when you're not doing them with the right form and the understanding of why you want to hold your spine in neutral, for instance, when you're lowering to the floor or something from plank, it just, when you understand that, you're just more likely to set yourself up to be kind of more injury proof for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the third reason is, I think, really important. And I think it enhances motivation. When you have this understanding of the benefits and then you apply it to, feel better and to prevent injury, and then you understand the science, that just makes you feel like just so much more engaged and more motivated to keep coming back and do this practice consistently. It's just, again, like it's like eating well. If you understand why it's better to eat a variety of vegetables and that are, that don't have all this salad dressing goopy stuff on top of them, you're just more likely to be motivated to continue to do that. If you don't understand the why, then you might choose the junk food, right? Because it just is easy to access and tastes really good. So it's just the same way. Like junk movement can be there and not work for us, but we don't know it. The enhanced motivation really also helps you be motivated to kind of be the ambassadors for your own health, for your own mission of moving for medicine and for longevity and all the things that we talk about. And when you have that motivation, it kind of feeds in itself. So it's very, like, we see this a lot in our, especially in our LYT studio where we interact with the people. The same people, they're coming over and over again. This has formed a habit, but they also continue to fuel that motivation as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings us to our fourth, reason is it becomes a personalized practice. And when I think of this, when we know more about our body and we might know we have a history of an injury, or wow, my hip is feeling a little bothersome, I have the education to change my practice to fit me. And I will do this with private clients. They come to me, they might be practicing LYT, they might not, and I look to see, how are they moving and how can I take their practice and make it become their personal physical therapy, where it's like, well, you're going to do your twisted crescent this way. For your side lunges, you're going to do them a little bit differently because of your hip, because of your knee. Or, hey, I know I've got a knee issue. I really need to watch how my knee is stacking over my foot, or am I sitting back into my hips? It becomes very personalized, as opposed to just now do a side lunge, do a twisted crescent, do some box jumps. And, if we don't have the education about our body, we're a lot of times just going to follow the leader and not make those individualized choices, personalizing our practice to our body. My body is different than Lara's. Lara's body is different than her husband's. Her husband's body is different from, so it's like when we know the why and the how, we can personalize our practice to fit our body, which is what I love about LYT. It's never, this is how you do it, and no matter what, it's like, well, you're going to set yourself up for success, but maybe you tweak some certain aspects to personalize it for how you're feeling every day, how you're feeling that day. There are some days I use blocks because you know what? My hips are feeling a little cloggy, so I want to give them more space. Or I'm going to go on fingertips because my wrist is just a little cranky because I was at the computer for a lot longer the day before. So that's the beauty of education, is it allows us to personalize our practice.
Yeah, I love that about lit as well, because I found that when I was kind of teaching more traditional vinyasa, it was like people are, so say they're motivated, they're coming, and you say like, come into a side plank without a lot of directions or education. They're going to just try and execute it, but not think about like their own personal needs. Like, is my shoulder ready for that? Do I have a strong enough like integrated core to support that? Or would it be more helpful to support my pelvis with the knee down? We instill this in every class so that people can make those choices and they don't feel like anything's less than or they're like a failure. It's just personalizing it through their own understanding of their body and their history. And everybody's, like you said, everybody's history and body is different. And that leads to this next one, which is, I think education is so impactful for promoting this movement practice that naturally makes us feel more more alive, more energized, more like content. And it really creates this kind of intersection for the mental, the physical, the emotional health that sometimes is separated in yoga. Like, here's what you do for mental, or your, spiritual, and here's what you do for physical. And I think that education is really what bridges all of that and brings it into this holistic health spectrum. So education really helps us truly understand holistic health, which is that we are not physical bodies, mental bodies, emotional bodies. We are all of that. And through the understanding of, how to move in a more optimal way, a more efficient way, we're going to naturally feel more mentally and emotionally balanced as well. It's just a very comprehensive way to approach movement. And that's where education is so impactful. And I think that people that do separate it do that in a way because they're not as confident in the educational part. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, because we are all for, that's why we have so many existing yoga teachers, physical therapists, et cetera, who come and do our teacher training. They recognize they still need some additional information, and that they want to pass on to their clients, because they want to feel like, what they're offering is much more than just the physical movement, poses, asanas. But it really, when you come from the educational lens, it's all interconnected. That holistic approach is truly, truly magnified and, actualized.
Yeah, and I think that when we are able to look at things more holistically, this brings us to our next, reason, is we feel empowered. Education, they say this, knowledge is power. Ignorance might be bliss. And that would be, some people like to go to a class and just do the flow and not, focus in, and it feels blissful. And then they come to one of our classes and we're actually challenging them to lift up out of their joints, to you know maybe use their core when they'd rather just sag into, or use the bigger mover muscles. We're challenging them, but when they realize that they're able to, the owner of their own body, that's empowering.
Mm.
So education, let it be empowering, that you have the control to take care of your health. You don't need to wait for someone to prescribe a pill, or you don't need to go to the physical therapist and have them watch you do the exercises. If you know how to do it on your own, and then you just become more bought in to movement as medicine. It's so empowering. One of our taglines is, you don't need an advanced degree to be the master of your own body. And that is true. Be a master of your own health. things are going to happen that we don't have as much control over, but we do have full control over how we move, when we move, and the way we choose to move, both, intensity, duration, frequency. And that is the empowerment that I think the education gives people, that they're not relying on the guru, the, what do they call it, the sage on the stage.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
they're empowered to move for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's what we really do so well in lit. And that again comes back to that, through the lens of physical therapy, that education, because we do want to empower people. We don't want them to rely on us. And, that empowerment is also gives you this sense of I can continue to improve my movement, my life, and not just not have that feeling of like, oh, I'm just going to age and everything's going to fall apart. So that leads to the next thing, which is education, and infusing it really helps you become more sustainable. And we mean that in all the ways. Sustainable, such a buzzy word, and we need it for the earth, we need it for our products, but we also need it for our body. And when we're feeling empowered, we're developing sustainable habits. Like you already mentioned, your client said, I'm thinking about this off the mat, so when you educate people, they understand the long-term benefits. And then they're much more likely to integrate that movement into their daily lives, and not just like, I'm on the mat, I leave the mat, and I go back to like the kind of suboptimal movement, but this becomes this lifelong practice versus these kind of one-off experiences. And I just believe that, and we see it, people talk about how they're moving better than they were 10, 20 years ago. And that all of these elements of feeling empowered and motivated, it leads to this feeling of like increased sustainability. Like I can do this because I'm bringing all this education into every aspect of my life.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think when people are moving better, they're feeling better. They're just happier, and
Amen.
there's just a joy. And one of the neatest things I think that, lit has, I mean, for me, it is my community. I was living in New Jersey, where, Lara was living there as well. And the studio, it was like a family. And then when we went online and COVID struck and I moved to Wisconsin, you moved up to Massachusetts, we still have this community, and we feel it every single time because it's this like-minded group. We're
Yeah.
all choosing to move together. I mean, if you join our lit studio where we practice live, afterwards there's chit chat, there's sharing. I did my stretch class. People will tell me, oh my gosh, stretch has helped me so much because, what you told me, I went and then I was in Lara's class and I did, and it's, we really bond through the education.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's to me, there, I don't want to call it like an addiction, but man, the more you're just feeding off of each other's knowledge and sharing. We meet every month as teachers and we talk about struggles we're, coming across. These teachers that we've trained over 700 teachers all over the world. And every month we're meeting and, hey, I have this new private client and they're coming in, how can I address their boot that they're going to wear? Well, let's all talk. So like education sharing, like keeping it to yourself, to your point, Lara, like we don't want people to rely on us. We want people to be empowered. We want to build this sense of community that like, hey, I'm always here for you, but so's this person and so's that person. It's my absolute favorite thing about lit, and I wholeheartedly believe it lies in the education, in that shared goal of
Yeah.
knowing more and moving better.
As you may already know, not all movement practices are designed equally. In the LYT yoga method, we help you retrain your brain and body to move better for everyday life. Our online platform, the LYT Daily, is designed for easy convenience with a robust offering of class types so you can boost your energy while getting stress relief. When we move better, we feel better. So sign up for our free 1-week trial and see how getting LYT can help you feel your best today and for years to come.
I agree. And you just said something that just like kind of brought me back to a memory when you said we don't want to keep this to ourselves. So I remember when I created the teacher training, it was 12 plus years ago. It was because I would have, my clients feel like they didn't trust going to other movement practitioners, whether it was yoga or fitness classes, because they reported like they weren't getting any of that information. It was just kind of being led, like the follow me type thing. And when they said, yeah, I don't want to go anywhere else because I'm afraid I'll get injured, I thought, well, I just need to help other movement professionals. That was really my intention, is that I didn't think that was fair. And I just knew I had the education as a physical therapist to do that and the ability to distill the information. And I remember when I created it, someone said, well, aren't you afraid of sharing this? Like as if, people weren't going to just come to me as the expert anymore. And that just goes back to community. Like whether you're in the LYT community or not, our goal is to share this information readily. There's no point in having some kind of barrier to entry in terms of understanding your own body. We already know that most people did not get this education just because it wasn't provided to them. We went out and got it because we were interested in this as our profession, but it's not information that is, again, you don't have to be like go to grad school to get it. You deserve to understand about your body. And so I never had that kind of thought process of like, I'm going to hold it all, so people have to come to me. That's exactly the opposite of what we're talking about. The joy is in spreading this information. And if we get somebody who comes to us, whether it's a private client, this happens all the time, I'm not trying to get them on repetition. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 times, and that's enough. And then they'll check in with me every once in a while. And that's amazing. That means that whatever knowledge I gave them, they really got it and started to, incorporate it into their life. And that's what we do in our teacher training. We're taking people and we go much deeper, obviously. We go deep into the understanding of functional anatomy, biomechanics, how to apply it to a yoga practice, specifically our LYT practice. We detail the why. Why do we sequence things in this blueprint type pattern that has a lot of rationale and clarity, and like it is analytical, and then there's also this incredibly creative component. And so nothing is willy-nilly. There's a reason for the order of things, but there's also in that order and structure a lot of creativity. So people understand, oh, this is why we start with the reset and then we do Sansal, one in a sequence and all that stuff. And so we teach them all of these things so that, yeah, they can go out and feel empowered to teach their community. And I know both of us feel this way. There's nothing more exciting than when our teachers report back how much it's changed their lives and therefore their clients' lives, because they just feel like all the things. They have improved understanding. They know how to address someone who is talking and or complaining about aches and pains to help that injury prevention. They, with their knowledge, have that enhanced motivation we talked about. They can take it into their own practice. So we have people that go and do our training and really don't intend to teach. They just want to deepen their own understanding for themselves. So it's like doing a huge, I don't want to say boot camp, but like deep dive boot camp into just understanding their own body. Often they'll ending up wanting to teach someone, whether it's a friend or family, but there's all kinds of reasons. And even the teachers who have had a wonderful practice find that their own practice is challenged and changed through this enhanced education they get in our training. And then that enhances all aspects of their life, the holistic manner we were talking about. They usually, because when you are taking care of yourself and understanding alignment and those principles, that naturally kind of bleeds into all aspects of your life. Your behavior, your actions, your ability to handle stress, because when you handle good stress in your body, it really does help you handle just daily stresses in a much more healthy way. There's more I could say about that, but this, again, education is so crucial for our clients and our platform, and for our teachers and our teacher training.
Yeah. And we're not going to stop, Lara. Education
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, no, we won't. And here's the really fun thing is we know a lot, and we also, with that, we know very little. So I think the thing is, here's a big hint, if you ever come across anyone who's teaching you and appears like they have nothing else to learn, then you need to find somebody else, because you want somebody we are hungry for knowledge, curious. And that is, I think, the root of true education, is that it's never, ever done. There's so much to learn and to know.
I think we end it there.
Yeah, there we go, everybody. So get lit, try our online platform. We are, about to launch our 10th cohort next month, and so excited about that for the online lit teacher training. You can get certified and become, a part of our community, which is so vibrant and loving and supportive.
All right. Until then.
Until then, we're always pulling for you.
Yar.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Redefining Movement. If you like what you've heard, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to leave us a rating and review, or share with someone you know. Check us out at www.litmethod.com.